lesson is about, we're going to talk about one triangle. We're going to talk about inequalities in a triangle. If I talk about an inequality, we did this in college algebra today. We talked about inequalities. What's the difference between a equality and an inequality?
Equal and not equal.
Right, less than, greater than, not equal to, right? That's an inequality if they're not equal to each other. So if I had something that was equal, that would be an equality. All right, so watch. 5 equals 5. Would you agree with that statement? Yeah, 5 equals 5. But what about 4? 4 is not equal to 5, or 4 is what? Less than 5. Would you agree? Or you could say 5 is greater than 6. Is this all ringing a bell? Less than, greater than, and all that kind of thing? Yeah. So that's pretty simple. Know the symbols. When you're a little kid, your teachers, didn't they teach you weird little things with the Pac-Man or the alligator? I've heard some teachers, and I only know this from what students tell me. Yeah, it's the mouth of an alligator and eats the bigger number because it likes. Okay, whatever. I just look at it like this. It's pointing to the left, isn't it? See the arrow? It's pointing to the left, so it's less than. Okay, or it's smaller. Shh. Let's not comment on things like that. Let's just listen. Okay. Look, this is smaller. This end, right? It basically starts off with an equal sign, doesn't it? But what happens to this? If it goes like this, what happened to these two ends? They got closer to each other, didn't they? So this part is less than this part. You see the distance between them? Look at the distance between these two right here. They're equal, aren't they? What's the distance between here? That's a lot less than this, so that's less than. What if you did this? This is a lot greater distance between the two than this. That's greater than, right? Less than, greater than. Now, you could read it from right to left. What if I read it from right to left? What could I say? 5 is what? Greater than 4, right? So if I read it left to right, 4 is less than 5. If I read it right to left, I could say 5 is greater than 4. Does that make sense? Being the same exact thing, doesn't it? All right, let's do this one. What if I read it left to right? What is this? 5 is, talk to me now. 5 is, come on. Why did I put 5 is greater than 6 anyway? Why did I put that? I have to rewind and say, nobody stopped me on that, did they? That was silly. Why did I put a 6 there? I got to go back and listen to what I just said right there. It should be what? 5 is not greater than 6, is it? Right, it's greater than 4, right? Or let's put another number in there. It's greater than 2, right? Nobody noticed that? You should have said something to me, okay? Because I messed up. There we go. Remember our little talk before? We all make mistakes. There's mine today, all right? It's probably not my first one today. But anyway, yeah, I don't know why I put a 6 there. 5 is greater than 2. So let's read it from left to right. 5 is what? Greater than 2. If I read it the other way, from right to left, what would I say? 2 is less than 5, okay? That's probably where everyone was stalled a little bit when I said a 5 and a 6 right there. So sorry about that. That's my bad. All right, we okay with less than and greater than then? All right, let's talk geometry now. Let's draw a triangle. And we've seen this type of triangle before. And we're going to talk a little bit more about it. Remember this thing? We extended one of the sides. What do we call this angle right here that was outside the triangle? What is it? It's not remote. It's just what? It's just the exterior angle. It's just the exterior angle. What was the remote things? The ones that were further away from the exterior. So this right here would be a remote interior angle. Do you agree? Remote interior angle. And so would this one right here. They both would be remote interior angles. This is not remote because it's right next to it. Remember we talked about the remote control, right? If you're right next to the TV, you don't need a remote control. But if you're farther away from the TV, you need a remote control, don't you? Or you have to get up and go over. What's that? I think we did. Well, anyway, I know I did in some class. Maybe it was here, maybe it was somewhere other place. But anyway, we did talk about remote interior angles. So these are remote. They're far away. They're further away from this. This is the exterior angle. Well, what did we learn about the exterior angles and the remote interior angles? What did we learn about them? Very good. So let's make up a number. Let's say this is let's say that's 60 degrees, and let's say that this is 70 degrees. All right. What would this exterior angle be equal to? One little simple math problem. What would you have to do to get this exterior angle? Just add them up. That's right. 60 plus 70. What is 60 plus 70? It's 130. So that angle right there must be 130. All right? That's old stuff. We've talked about that before. It's just a little reminder. But what we're going to do right here is we're going to see something. I want to see a relationship between this angle and just one of these angles. Now take a look. Remember, we're talking inequalities, right? One is bigger than the other. One is smaller than the other, whatever. If I want to compare 130 to this angle right here, what would 130 be compared to 60? Inequalities. It'd be what? Be greater than, wouldn't it? Okay, so this exterior angle is going to be bigger than this angle right here. Would you agree? All right, what else could you say? 130 is also what? Bigger than 70. All right, so if these two add up, because remember, 130 equals 60 plus 70. Would you agree? If these two add up to be 130, it just kind of makes sense, doesn't it, that 130 has to be bigger than either one of these. Do you agree? So if I have two numbers that add up to be a third, to be a number, right, a third number, that third number has to be bigger than either one of those other two numbers. Would you agree? All right. So this angle right here, or this number right here, has to be bigger than 60, and this number also has to be bigger than 70. If these two add up to be 30, this answer right here, this sum, has to be bigger than the two things that are being added up. You got that? And that's the kind of stuff they're going to ask you. They're going to look at this and they're going to say which one is the bigger of the angles. So let's not put actual numbers in. I just did that just so you can kind of see actual numbers. It makes it a little easier to understand this. But let's put some, we'll just call this angle 1. We'll call that angle 1 right there. We'll call this angle 2, and we'll call this angle 3. Now this doesn't mean it's 1 degree, 2 degrees, 3 degrees. We just name the angle just to make it really easy. So if you know that angle 1 equals angle 2 plus angle 3, what does that tell you about angle 1? What can we say as far as an inequality? It's got to be greater than what? Angle 2. Or I could say and, angle 1 also has to be greater than what else? Angle 3. I don't even care what the value for angle 2 and angle 3 are. Okay, I can look at this. I don't even know how many degrees this is right now. Okay, we made it up before, but let's say right now we don't know. So I don't even know what that angle is. I don't know what that angle is right there, but I do know that they add up to be angle 1. So that means what? That means those two angles have to be, or this angle, this exterior, have to be equal or greater than 2 and greater than 3. Here's another example. What if I had something like this? Let's do this. Like that. Okay? And we'll do the same thing. We'll call this angle 1 and we'll call this angle 2. What do you think? What kind of inequality do you think I could say? Well, you don't really know that. Now, by the picture, it sure looks like it. Okay, and Daniel said something about the quiz. He's like, well, why did I get this wrong? Because that angle doesn't look like it's being bisected. But it said on the problem that it was being bisected. So just because it doesn't look like it, does that mean, do you go just by the looks of it in geometry? No, you go by what's being told. So you really, now, I know this definitely looks bigger than this angle right here. I agree. All right, but we haven't really been told. So we can't really say that angle 1 is bigger than angle 2 right now, because what if we had this? Here, watch this. I'll really mess with you a little bit. What if we did this and we went like that? Could you tell for sure which one is bigger right there? No, you could kind of make a guess and say, well, it kind of looked like it leans this way a little bit, so this one's probably smaller than this. But you can't really tell. What if it was like, instead of 90, what if it was like 89.999 degrees? Could you really look at it and tell which one is bigger than the other? No. So that's the whole point. The point is, you can't just go by the picture and look. You have to go by information that's given. What? Nah, just wait until this lesson's over. All right, let's take a look at this now. Let's go back to this. But what do these two angles add up to be? 180. So watch. Angle 1 plus angle 2 has to be equal to 180 degrees. Okay, so what would you say here? Let's go angle 1. What can you say about angle 1 compared to 180? It's got to be less than 180, doesn't it? What about angle 2? That also has to be what? Less than 180. Or you could go the other way, and you could say 180 is what? Greater than angle 1, or you could say 180 is greater than angle 2. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. For instance, if I had some money, right? I had 2 handfuls of money, okay? And I gave some to Daniel, but he wouldn't take it because he's sleeping right now, so he lost out. So I'll go to Josh. So I give Josh a handful of money, right? And I give Javier a handful of money. Now, are they going to have, each individually, are they going to have more money than I originally started with or less money than I originally started with if I split it up? They have to have less money, right? I had to start off with the most money. If I split it up, they both have less money than I started off with. Would you agree? It's the same exact principle, isn't it? Same exact principle. If these two things add up to 180, what can I say? Angle 1 has to be what? Less than 180 degrees. And you know that, not just by looking at the picture, just by knowing that if two things add up to be 180, they both have to be both less than 180. And what else could I say about angle 2? I could say angle 2 is also what? Less than 180. So it's like money. Think of it like money. If I had $180 and I gave somebody part of it, right, and I gave somebody else the other part of it, okay, they both, individually, they both have less than I gave them, or than I started with, I should say, than I had originally. Would you agree? All right. It's a simple principle, isn't it? It's a very simple principle, but it's one that they're going to ask you, and they're going to have triangles. They're going to have stuff very similar to this, and they're going to say, I think compare, or what's the word that they use? Let me see what word they use. It'll just say, like, tell which one has the greatest measure or something like that. We're just kind of leading up to that right now. Exterior angle theorem, let's see. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all they ask. All right, let's do another type. All right. And let's scooch down here. Let's start off from scratch. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a triangle again. Seems like I've always draw an acute triangle. I don't know why. It just seems a little bit more normal to me. But let's draw an obtuse just to be different, okay? That's the only reason I'm doing an obtuse, just to be a little bit different. Alright, what I want to do is actually, let me make it look a little bit different than this, just for the sake of this lesson. Let's make this go like that. Is that alright? And we'll swing this thing, make the triangle like that. There we go. There's a reason that I did that. Let's group it together. Watch this. Let me see where we want to start right here. Okay, I think they just kind of straight out tell you. Let's say, we'll call it angle ABC. Everybody watching? Paying attention? My little talk at the beginning didn't help much. I got 3 people with heads on the desk. Get your heads up, please, or I'll have to write you up. Daniel? All right, I'm getting the SLD slip out. So why do you hear that and you don't just ask for a simple request to get your head up? I don't understand that.
I didn't hear you.
Sure you didn't.
I really didn't. I'm sorry.
Let's take a look. Here's what the theorem says. The theorem says, let's say, let's just say this is the biggest angle right here, angle B. All right, it's an obtuse triangle, so that's definitely the biggest angle. Here's what the theorem says. It's very, very easy. Let's everybody watch, everybody stay awake, and everybody pay attention to what I'm trying to tell you. Because if you get it early, then you won't have to try to figure it out later. Get it now. If you have a triangle and they tell you this is the biggest angle, they told you angle B is the largest angle. What do you think? Just a wild guess. What do you think the largest side would be if angle B is the biggest angle? What looks like? Now I told you earlier not to always go by the looks, but I'm telling you right now, look at the sides right here. Which side do you think is the longest side? AC, isn't it? Okay, I tried to make it kind of obvious, all right? So AC is definitely the longest side. Well, it's opposite the what? The biggest angle, isn't it? So if angle B is the biggest angle, if I told you, and I'm telling you right now that angle B is the biggest angle, then which side would be the longest side? Then AC would be the longest side. Whoops, I don't want that. Go away. All right. Everybody get that? Pretty simple. So what do you think what if I said this little angle right here? That looks like the smallest angle, doesn't it? So guess what? So BC would be what? The smallest side. Now, they don't do this in the book, but I do this. Watch. Angle B is a big angle, so I put a big old arc, right? And then I'll put a big old tick mark, right? So the big arc is opposite the big tick mark. Everybody got that? So the largest side is opposite the largest angle. The smallest angle is going to be opposite the what? The smallest side. I'll put two small little tiny tick marks there just to indicate that it's small. Okay, they don't do that in the book, but it's a good way for us to just look at it and see which one's bigger, which one's smaller. Make sense? All right. Now, which one do you think is in between? C would be, right? All right, so which one's the smallest one? Angle A. So which one's the smallest side? BC. Which one's the largest angle? Angle B. So which one's the largest side? AC. So which one's the medium one, the one that's in the middle? Okay, it would be angle C, wouldn't it? Okay, so which one is the medium or the one that's in the middle side? AB. So let's list it. Let's list the sides in order from, writing too fast, it's a little sloppy, from smallest, we'll just go small to large. All right, so we're listing the sides. Everybody follow me on that? So what would the smallest side be? We're going from small to large. What's the smallest side? Yeah, CB or BC. Doesn't matter which way you write it. Which one's the next biggest one? The next biggest one? AB. That would be like the middle one, wouldn't it? All right. And then which is the very largest one? AC. And this is a question they're going to ask you. They're going to give you a triangle, and they're going to say, list the sides in order from the smallest to the largest. That's the smallest, that's the medium, that's the largest. I have three things here, don't I? Don't just write down BC and that's it, because it says list the sides in order from the smallest to the largest. There's three sides, aren't there, to a triangle? So I must have three answers. The first answer has to be the smallest one. The second answer has to be the middle one. And the third answer has to be the largest one, because I'm listing them in order. Does that make sense? Because I know, I can see it, that some of you guys are just going to put like one side, or you might even put an angle or something crazy like that. Sometimes I look at answers on quizzes and tests, and I'm like, what in the world are they thinking? But know what this is asking. List the sides in order from the smallest to the largest. So what they'll probably do is actually give you the values of these angles. So we'll make it kind of easy on ourselves. Let's say this is like 30 degrees right here, and let's say this is 120 degrees. So that would be what, 150? And actually, let's make this a little different. Let's make this 20 degrees. I don't want the same angles. All right, so if this is 20 and this is 120, that's 140. So what's this angle have to be right here? It's got to be 40, right? So they could give you those two angles, and you got to figure out that one. So from that information, you can just see now which one is the biggest angle, right? Which is this. So that means AC is the biggest side. Agreed? Which one is the medium angle? 40, right? So which one's the medium side? AB, right? Because it's opposite. It's opposite the 40. Which one's the smallest angle? Angle 20, right? 20 degrees. So what's opposite the smallest angle? BC. So, see what I'm talking about by opposite? Right? This is opposite this. Agreed? BC is opposite the 20. See how you go straight across from it? And then what's opposite the 40? AB. You get it? All right. And that's the kind of stuff they're going to ask. Well, they'll also do stuff like this. Let's get rid of these angles. We'll use the same triangle, might as well. Okay. Sometimes they'll give you the sides. Sometimes they'll say, okay, this is 10, and this is, I don't know, 5, and this is 18, or something like that. All right? So what if they give you this situation right here? And instead of asking to list the sides in order from the smallest to the largest, what do you think they're going to do? The angles, that's right. They're going to say list the angles in order from the smallest to the largest. All right? The angles. So your answer must be as angles, written as angles. So smallest to largest. What's the smallest angle here? Now you're only going to use one letter, right? Angle. I'm looking for an angle. Well, what do? You look for the smallest side, right? Which is 5. And you look opposite that side. What angle is opposite this side right here? Angle A is opposite this side. So what's the smallest angle? Angle A.
On the field trip to AI DuPont
What's the
Hospital
medium
children, please
side?
now in the
It would be
library.
10, wouldn't it? So what's the medium angle? It's the angle that's opposite the 10. So that would be what? Angle C. And of course, you only have one left over. But look at the largest side and look at the largest angle. It's angle B. Don't go anywhere yet. Let me give you homework. Here, take a worksheet if you're leaving. So do you see the kind of stuff they're going to ask you? It's not that hard, is it? I don't think it is at all. All right, you just have to know the relationship between those things. And I believe, let me just make sure, side opposite the side, we got that, we got that. List the angles, smallest to largest. Yep, that's pretty much what they ask you to do here. All right, I think that's it. Okay, so what you're going to do today is you're going to do section 5.3 worksheet. I think it's page 63 at the bottom of it. All right, so I'll give you that. It's pretty much the same kind of stuff that we just went over, and make sure that you work hard at this. Okay, we had the big talk before we started. Okay, work hard on this. Don't just write stuff down for the sake of writing stuff down. Really try to get the right answers. And I think most of you are doing that, but I think some are just kind of blowing these homeworks off and just writing stuff down just to turn it in. All right, that is not the way you're going to learn this stuff. The way you're going to learn this stuff is by really, really trying and giving some effort. All right, and I expect that. So let's make sure we work hard on these and don't just blow these things off. Really try to get these. Because I know what some of you guys are saying. Some of you guys are saying, well, I'll just wait till he reads off the answers and I'll write them down and turn it in and I'll be good to go. That's sure not going to help you, all right? All right, work hard on this.